Yes, the Deepavali week kicks off with Monday morning here. I'm in my beautiful office. My wife's paintings in the background. They sell for about 2 to 3 crores a painting. I'll bring it down to about 2 to 3 lakhs also if we have common ground, like animals, like the same foods, follow the same politicians without shooting them. Okay, we start Monday morning with our two philosophers, and we always start. But we got some criticism about it, and frankly, I think it's warranted that we did too much with it now with 2 and 3 words. So I brought it back down to one word, one superstar English word in the dictionary that hopefully Amit and Silvery will be able to answer. And may I be honest, without sounding patronizing, you guys suck. It's
All
been
right.
like 6 months in the making of this entire game, and I've got, I mean, there's nobody on the board here. I've not got a
No,
score.
no,
I've
I'll,
got
Amit
I'll
a
give
Amit had
one.
you.
one or two.
Oh,
Yeah.
Amit got one with a lot of help, yeah. But it's like handicap in golf. If you start playing with the different handicaps, you start. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Okay, let's not pull at hairs like that. We'll leave it. The point is that we're just not very prolific. So I'm giving you a very simple word, and it's only one today, not two. But my pronunciation of the word, I don't know how good that would be. Then again, pronunciation is depends on culture and region, so it's always a little flexible. The word is a noun, and it is Nullipara, which in Gujarati would be
No,
Nalli Para. But I'm trying my best to say it as Nulli Para. Nulli, Nulli. It may be Nulli. Yeah, that's it. The words come up magically. Thanks, Silvery. I hope you're not cheating because you're
Nouns.
gazing downwards. Now you're gazing left. You're
Yeah,
doing a
yeah. That's
Kunal
my
acting
thinking
job.
spot. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
thinking
yeah.
area.
I'll
Yeah,
pretend
yeah.
to think,
Yeah,
look into
yeah.
my blurb, and then come up with the word. There's no
Yeah,
way you'd
correct.
have got this word.
what is
Nelly.
when you look to
Oh,
the right you lie, and when you look to the left you say the truth, right?
come
Is
on,
that it?
really?
It's well, so it's basically left brain, right brain. Left brain is
Wow, what a commentary on politics.
no, it's so
The
left
right
brain.
lies and the left tells the truth. Oof.
No, so
See, there goes our sponsor. Oof.
okay, all right.
Ouch.
No, no. The idea here is basically, are you accessing memory or are you accessing imagination? Right? Because to lie you need imagination, but to tell the truth you need memory.
You've opened the Pandora's box for 50 plus. Because for us, it's the same thing. We can't remember, so we start using imagination to remember. Oh, it's fabulous. What a couplet. Rumi and Firdausi at their best. Nullipara is in front of you. Don't cheat,
Nalipara.
guys. It's a tough nut to crack.
It's okay.
And
It's
don't go
not to do with
phonetics.
grammar,
You'll
right?
never
It's
get
not
it.
something with paragraphs. No.
See, if you go that way, you'll not get it. I'm promising you. You got
Okay.
to. It's not coming from the
What
phonetic
does para
sounding.
mean in Hindi? Para means doesn't mean barf like
Is it?
snow.
But
In Persian means angel.
Persian means
okay.
angel. Okay.
Yeah, pari.
Is there any etymological hits that you can give us in terms of where the word comes from?
That's damn tough to give you, but it's to do.
Like, is
Okay,
it
I'll
an
give you. I'll give you.
Indianish word?
No, no, no. It's a Latin origin. But I'll give you, and the Latin origin I can't even pronounce. I'm not getting into it. It'll just confuse you. Don't go Indian, okay? I
So it's
mean,
a
there might be a
scientific term for
genesis.
something, is it? Like
Yeah,
Latin
so it's
origin
got to
word.
do with the ladies, the females. Female, femme
Okay,
fatale. It's a lot
I saw
technical.
the answer on the chat, so I guess it's no longer Axel. I
Man,
can know.
okay. I guess for this part we have to stay in the private chat
Who the
area of
hell sent the
StreamYard.
bloody answer on the chat? Cushion, the angel of
Kashin.
No, no,
taps.
no, no, not Kashin. I think
That's wrong, but
Sridhar's
it's funny.
answer is correct.
A woman who has never given birth, Sridhar Bhupati. Obviously, not the same as the Indian Express duo of Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Pace. This
Okay, no,
Bhupati,
but we should ask though, did Sridhar know this answer or did he look it up? Because I think he
if
No,
he
looked it
knew
he
up.
this
no
answer,
no.
he
He
should be
said that.
shot. He has to be shot. There's no way he could have known.
Oh, just
Just
remember
prepare for
GRE
GRE
and
came
came
across
across
it.
it. Wow.
Balls.
Okay.
Sridhar, I don't believe it. I can't remember what GRE is like from 20. Hey, Amit, what do you think? Does he pass or
All things
fail?
are possible. You learn when you're studying for these exams. You have to do like you're studying vocabulary lists, right? So it's possible, but at the same time, I'm just trying to understand. It doesn't sound like any word which would mean anything like this at all, right?
Okay,
It's
it's a
like a
noun, so you have to use it as a term. A
yeah.
nalipara is a woman or female animal that has never given birth. So it's used to. It's almost like a bad, not a bad word, but it's to describe that kind of person who doesn't give
Mm,
birth, who can't give birth, or will not give
yeah.
birth. That's it.
I don't know.
So
Cannot give birth or hasn't given birth
no, so that has never given birth. That's the exact
by
sentence.
choice or by
No,
circumstance.
just
Does
it's
that
like being a
matter?
Up
virgin
till
that
now
has
at this
never
point.
given birth. Up to this point, has never had a child or
Yeah.
offspring rather,
Okay.
because it's for animals as well. Yeah. So you can, when you want to just f around at the zoo or whatever, you can just ask the local, scientists there and say,
In
"There are
Nalipara hai
horses in
kya?
Nalipara." Yeah, exactly, Nalipara hai kya? That's it. And then just wait for the response and say, "Irko malum nahi." Nalipara kya hai? What? I mean,
What are you
I'm just
working here for? Yeah, you should not be working
exactly.
here.
I'm just empowering you to meet me. That chutia PhD in zoology at the cocktail party who's, all the girls are asking questions. You say, that dog downstairs, Nalipara. That's all you got to do, yeah. Whatever. Just trying to make the world a better place, one person at a time. Just to quickly tell you, update on the whole Aryan scandal, not scandal, but you know what happened. So he gets out finally on Saturday, but the other two didn't get out. Their
They
formalities went on and on, by the way. They
they
didn't get
got
out on
out next.
Saturday.
They got out the next day.
Did they get out on Sunday or are they getting out now? I'm
Mhm.
not even sure because
I
they'll
think
say
so.
Sunday.
That I saw something yesterday in the news that both of them got out.
Well, this procedural thing is nonsense. Yeah, but Thursday morning, if an order comes in, then you have this old antiquated fashion thing where it has to be carried almost like a postal service and put inside a
Yep.
letterbox outside Arthur Road jail. Then, at the relevant time, the policeman will pick it up, like in the 17th century, and then take it inside to the master headquarter area where the admin people will sit and then slowly dissect it
Yep.
and then come to the page by page and line by line. And I mean, how?
Like, so some of this stuff makes no sense to me, right? I mean, like, why we live in a world of email. It's not just this though, right? I mean, like, even our stock market, which is supposedly super advanced and stuff like that, you can only apply for an IPO electronically between the hours of 10 and 4. Right,
Yeah.
like it's digital. It's an application that I'm doing via a website.
It's
Websites don't
also
have hours.
it's also paradox because it's anti-commerce. Instead of
Yeah.
increase the commercial activity, you're decreasing the commercial activity, which is
And I
doesn't-
I don't get it. I mean, like, so there's this company Nika which is IPOing, right? I mean, like, and I'm an admirer of the company. I think it's doing great work, and I think that it's this. Then I don't really do stocks and shit like that, right? I mean, like, so I was like, yeah, you know what, fucking Nika, good company. I think it's an interesting this. Let me do something there. And I went before we were about to record. I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me go and just apply for the IPO, right? And then you can only apply between 10 and 4. I'm like, what the hell is this?
yeah. Well, you don't start me off because I have problems with visiting hours in hospitals also. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
understand why should be between 6 and 7. It's not your fucking mother who's in the hospital. Who the hell made
Yeah.
that rule? They need company. Some people sometimes and all this. What kind of rules are those? I
Yeah.
don't mind the fact that you limit the people. That could be a rule because of population, etc. But why should
Yes.
it only be in 5 and 7 or 11 and 1? 11 and 1 is a stupid time. It's a
It
very
is.
inconvenient time for
Who
a lot of
can go?
people. Who
Who
can
can
go?
go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
who
mean,
makes
doctors
these
are work.
rules?
Doctors are at work, so it's not like you have to respect. Like, I mean, like, you don't have to manage their time. You have to. It's weird. I get it.
I mean, I
I
don't
get what you're
for
saying too.
for our class of society, the money you're paying is like a 5-star hotel. I'm saying, what
Yeah.
the hell? Don't make me
Yeah.
feel like a criminal after you charge me. Who's a criminal here? I mean, you charge so much money and there's so many tests
Yeah.
involved. And boss, come on,
Yeah.
level of comfort is now companionship. That's all we're asking for. And you say 11 to 1, 5 to 7. And of course, don't start me about car parking in our South Bombay hospitals and all
Oh
those
God.
problems. Really, I mean, you probably go to hospital just waiting to park.
Yeah.
Can't bear it anymore.
No, and
Still,
also, I'll just say this too, right? I mean, like, there are two hospitals that I can think of in particular that have parking and make it a pain in the ass to park there,
are you speaking of
right?
Breach Candy
There
and
is.
Saifi?
I'm speaking of Breach Candy and Safi. There's parking there.
I cracked it, bro.
Wow.
There's
There is
parking there,
parking.
and
Yeah.
you fear the cardiologist less than you fear the watchman. If the
Yeah.
watchman's eye comes onto you, you're screwed. The cardiologist is not so important. Even a junior nurse will do. Forget it. But this guy is like God. Man, the power watchmen have got these days across institutions is just ridiculous.
I
Really.
mean, people give Reliance a lot of shit, but at least they have parking at their bloody hospital there. And I mean, like, there's place to park over there, right? And
No, you're
uh,
talking about the Harkishan Das, which is now
yeah, the
Reliance. Yeah.
Harkishan Das, they have like
Fantastic.
a
Fantastic.
underground parking system and all that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
No, but there are just so many concepts which have to change. I also, you know, I can't even in airlines and all that. I don't know why they can't just have the thing up and down whenever, rather than a fixed time like you're in jail. Because you're flying across continents and countries and all something. It's just ridiculous that they just decide on some time, wake you up when you're fast asleep.
Yeah.
It should be more like an open service, is what I think, honestly. When you're doing an 8-hour flight and 5-hour flight, etc.
Yeah.
But I suppose these again are problems of the elite. We have to go back to
It is.
pandemic. We have to look at the other things, put them in. Oh, by the way, we have a huge problem.
But
Uh,
I should also just, yes, right now, go ahead.
no, I just wanted
Now,
to
I was
say
just
this.
going to say the most elitist thing imaginable, so it's
Then,
better
then
if I
say it. Then say it. Because I'm going
I think
off
yeah,
the
that you
topic.
should.
Please say. Please say. I love elitist problems.
in business class, they serve you whenever you want, whatever you want.
Yeah, that makes you feel even worse when you're not in it and you can see that happening. Yeah, it's horrible. My worst experience is because I fly both alternately for
Yeah,
whatever reason, because I never pay for it. So
yeah.
someone whatever. So it's almost like demoted, promoted. So you meet an old friend, and this is pre-pandemic, you or in between the two pandemics, you start chatting or someone your acquaintance from a club or restaurant or whatever, and you start talking, and then you board together, and then one of you goes to business, one of you goes to. I mean, it's such an awkward moment. Oh, I'm inside, it's trying to be all manly about it, but it's just awkward. It's just so
It is.
unfair. Yeah.
I've dealt with it more than once. Always when I'm going into economy, almost always. And
No,
you're
but
always just like,
I mean, both ways it cuts both ways because you don't want to be that elitist with the pal. When
yeah,
you're both going there and then suddenly you're on a business, I want to apologize. It's like when you're in a Merc. I always say it's Kunal's car. I'm also apologetic because they want to sound, rich. Yeah, so that's the other problem. And then when you go, it's what you're saying where you just feel little, oh God. And then of course the
it's
people.
so no, no, it's awkward for that person as well, right? Because I mean, like it's like, oh, okay, so I guess I'll see you at the airport when we land now.
Or not, because you'll be fast tracked and I'll be, holding my bag, waiting for the old lady to take her bag out. Oh man, that's a. I've not flown so much in the last 1 year, but I must say, you can just write. One of those guys, one of our podcasters, wrote a book about it. Flying is just a ridiculous experience sometimes.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
is.
so silly. I want to talk about the other. It's not an elephant in the room anymore. It's just, in fact, it's more like 20 elephants. We did it. Number one
Lost
team in
again.
the world and all that. We lost, and no, we lost. We got hammered. We got smacked by Pakistan, smacked even more by New Zealand because the match was over. I didn't see the second half. At 108 or 109, whatever to win. I mean, like, I just went to sleep. There's no point. Just checked a little later when I went to pee. Being my age, the match was over. They already won in like 1 hour 15 minutes after I went to sleep. So, but my only thing is that I just want to make one point here. I know you two aren't crazy about cricket, but this is the cost you pay for IPL. Whether it's good or
Mm.
bad, this is what happens. They've gone through one very intense season of cricket, and right at the end, the back burner is this. And it seems almost like, imagine you're doing an exam, and then after you finish that exam, you have to do the next exam. It's always like the second exam suffers. In bodybuilding, it's called the priority principle. You train the weaker body part first, and you go for it because you're always not going to get that same result a little later. So
Really,
I just
that's
think,
interesting, right? Like, I mean, like looking at Twitter, it felt like essentially Virat Kohli just sat on the field and like cut up the ball and like, basically he just fucked it up. It was
no,
entirely
no,
his
they're
fault.
they're just being facetious and funny and all that. I've seen some of that stuff, like petrol at 116, India at 110 or whatever. I mean, that's
No, no,
great.
they're
It's
not
all
being
good.
facetious, dude. Virat's
It's
taking
funny.
hate,
I'm okay with it.
like serious hate, man.
So that's the
Like
other.
that I mean like that he hasn't played in the longest time. He's the most fucked up player. He needs to leave. He needs to do this. I mean like that's
He's
all I
already
I
would.
think
announced.
don't
He's
we
already
expect
announced
that
he's
at
stepping
this
down.
point? Don't we expect that at this point? Like we know for a fact that after every match that India loses, there'll be so much hate for like totally disproportionate hate
Yeah, I
towards
guess
the
that's probably
captain
true.
and the entire team and
So there are two types of hates. There's this
anyone.
abusing him as a player, which he just has to cop it. There's not much we can do.
Yeah,
The other ranting about the religion and children and all that, that's nonsense. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, that's just another, that's a savage evil man. But this is just a frustrated fan, and you just got to cop it. What can you do? They're frustrated and unhappy. And
Yeah.
don't forget, now India expects a lot from the Indian team. In my generation growing up, it was great if we won 83 World Cup out from left
yeah.
field. It was just superb. But now you expect them to win. We own the IPL, we own all the money, we own all the we have everything, infrastructure, we have best academies, best coaches, everything. So it's a bit sad.
Do
But
you
but
think there's any truth to this? I mean, like for the Pakistan match at least, right? I mean, like I read some stuff over there where people were talking about, or I heard some stuff where people were talking about basically the Pakistan T20 tournament, right? And it's actually really competitive,
PSL,
but
very good.
yeah, but
Second
none
only
of
to
us
us.
know. But
No, I
nobody,
follow
but
it.
no, none of us watch it. None of us know what's going
I
on with
watch
it,
it.
and so that's why we didn't. Well, I mean, you're unusual.
No, cricket lovers.
Most,
No, 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 no. Cricket lovers around the world watch it. The
yeah,
PSL, the Bangladesh League, the Big Bash in Australia. We watch it. Also, people with no social lives, which are also the cricket lovers of the world. So you'll get to do that. You'll understand it's the same thing.
Mm.
We do watch it. No, I mean, listen, that poor country. Let me not sound like an anti-national, but let me just explain to you. Pakistan. If you look at the Pakistanis themselves, they've got no money at the moment. They've got very little infrastructure. The PSL is the only thing that's working for them in terms of cricket. New Zealand ran out on the day of the One Day International when they returned to
yeah.
play at home on the day of Islamabad International. They boarded the plane back and rushed home because of a so-called scare, which has not been proven. Now, with against all this, they've come up and played fantastic cricket in these three matches that they played
And
so far.
if
And
they're the
Babar Azam's
favorites right now,
form.
right? Like they might just win the tournament, is what
No, they are the
I'm
favorites.
hearing.
They are in England. And Babar Azam form was on the ventilator while he was batting. These are lovely, not lovely, but it's a poignant story. Bill's character, in a sense, and courage. Asif Ali, his daughter died 2 years ago. Okay. And he took a long time to recover from that. And he was trolled and this, that, and the other. And, and he's come back and now he's their match finisher. So they're now the romances with Pakistan for me. You see these stories, you see the heart and soul in it. It's always more than cricket. It's always more than football or basketball. It's always more for me. When you follow sport, it's never the sport. It's much more than that. Then that's when you're really invested in it. And the Indian stories aren't that great. We had great stories with Natarajan, with Siraj being a rickshaw driver's son and what have you, and his father dying before coming to Australia, etc. There were lovely romantic stories then, but for now, the romance seems to have caught up with Pakistan, and it's almost like they're punching up and they have the momentum. If you look at the Indian body language, they were talking about it, the commentators. I don't know if this works in basketball, but before you enter, Alan Border used to talk about this, the Aussie captain X. You sometimes win or lose before you enter the ground.
Yeah.
It's just in, and it's not to do with your skill. It's just your mindset, that ferocity and that intent is there. And you can see that when you perform on stage. You can see that when you're even doing a podcast or writing or whatever. There are days when your intensity is just boom. You can't compete with that. You come in like a warrior, like a champion. We
in
didn't.
basketball, they talk about basically the post-championship kind of jump, right? That once you won the championship once, right? After that, just the attitude that you take to the court and stuff like that just changes to a point where you're probably winning 5 games just because of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
so once the Warriors, and that's why you see a lot of basketball teams repeating. You have,
Lakers at their best. We're looking at eras you're talking about, right?
yeah. So Lakers will win
With,
2 or 3
with
out
their
of
body
5.
language, they're 50% on the sheet. Just
Yep.
because they believe so much in themselves, and the other team also believes in their greatness. The West
Believes
Indies
in
had
them
that in cricket in the 80s,
yeah,
Aussies later on,
exactly.
Indians now
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
But what we saw when they came to bat, our boys, the boys in blue, they didn't look like champions. I'm sorry to say, it
So do you
was
think
not a good
do
week.
you think it's possible because we are batting first, like both the matches that
No,
we
no,
played up to
that's
now?
definitely playing. That's obviously batting second seems to be much easier. But
Huh.
India's got all the cards for this T20 cricket. Yeah, with that whole IPL and the kind of T20 we play, and we've beaten New Zealand 8 on the trot in internationals, T20 internationals, 8-0 in the last year and a half or so.
Do you think there's something to the age factor, or is the Indian team too old?
It's a mix. There are no, I don't think they're too old. No, I don't think that's fair.
Because
But
one of the things I
Hardik
read,
doesn't look
right?
on top of his game.
Oh,
Uh, Rishabh is not really turning it into match winning performance like he did in the Test series in Australia and to some extent in England. So your match winner Shardul didn't get a real crack at it. Came too late in any case with the bat, and there's nothing to defend with the ball. And the biggest problem is we have the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. 1, 2, 3. They changed the batting order this match, but you're looking at three of the best in the business. Actually, three of the best in all forms of cricket. If that the sheer talent and skill, Virat, Rohit, and KL Rahul can't be matched, and they flopped in 2 games.
So again, like I feel that we are only one game away from all our thinking changing, right? Like one win, and we'll be like, "Arey man, this was
But
this
now
was
we
the
won't
team that was meant
qualify.
to be."
Silvi, please
you're out
understand
now.
the T20 World Cup now, we have to
We're
win
out.
against the three minor teams. But Afghanistan may still stun us. You never know if we play this badly. And New Zealand is playing the same three teams. So they will remain in second position. Pakistan has already beaten Afghanistan. They've won 3 games. It's mathematically almost impossible for us to win. The stars have to align and combinations and permutations. It won't happen. It won't
It
happen.
can't be just India can't just win through and win. It depends on other teams
Yeah.
not performing
Yeah.
for India to be have a chance,
And
and
what's
so
the
you
point of
can't depend on that.
if they come to beat Scotland and it's got 240 and beat Scotland? Scotland is in terms of talent really not in the same league. Okay, the big two teams for us were these two, and we've lost to them in our group. It's horrible. I can't tell you. It's like Channel V beating us in the VJ Wars. It never happened. Silvery. It never happened. We started out like Viv and gang. You just walk onto the field. Like West Indians never sledged. The 80s West Indians. But they walked out with their chests out and with that strut that only when we copy it, it doesn't work. Indians should never try to do the Afro Carib thing. It doesn't work. Please, कृपया ध्यान दीजिए. I know that will come late in the program with the advertising, but कृपया please ध्यान दीजिए. Do not strut like an Afro Carib if you aren't one. I can't stand it. It just looks so stupid. Yeah, ki hal hai. What's up, yaar? Just work for me, man. Yeah. Okay. Shall we get on? Now,
All right,
anybody
cool.
wants to say? I'm just a rapper from Birmingham. Yeah. What's up?
So we have a few stories today.
Yeah.
So I'll give you guys two options. Like, what do you want to cover right now? I know last week we were meant to talk about the Alec Baldwin story, but we never got to it.
Yeah.
And another one that is very interesting is a cool, fascinating story about elephants in Africa that I have. So we'll
Let's
do the
talk about
lighter story
elephants.
first. Yeah,
Let's talk
we'll do the
about
lighter
elephants
story first.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah. So
And then the elephant in the Hollywood room later.
yes, correct.
Sorry, so apologize.
All
Go
right.
back to rapping in Birmingham.
All right. So in Mozambique, in Africa and Mozambique, elephants have evolved into being born now tuskless. Okay, there's a whole section of elephants that are now being born tuskless as an evolutionary response to years and years of violent poaching.
Hmm.
That's just so fascinating to me. What is happening is also the problem. The thing is twofold, of course. One is that elephants themselves have, like, somehow their evolutionary genes have understood that if you have tusk, then you'll just die sooner. And also, it just turns out that
No,
a
no,
lot of,
it's
yeah,
natural
that's it, right?
selection, right? I mean,
Natural
like
selection,
the
basically.
people, if you have a
The
tusk, you're
elephants
getting
left
shot.
are,
You don't have
But
yeah,
they
tusk,
do need
you're
the
not getting
tusk to
shot.
protect themselves in battle against each other, mostly,
but
and
they're so
occasionally
huge anyway. They
rhinos
have
and
very few
lions.
predators. There are very few
That's
predators who
true.
can
That's true.
anyway, like,
Let's
kill
not
them anyway.
the one pride attacking or the stray elephant against how many poachers. I mean, it'll be completely, the numbers will be ridiculous.
Oh no,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
different, right? I mean, like the humans are like devastating elephant populations, right? Lions and tigers and shit like that, or I mean, like that you're talking about, like you're talking about
Rarities.
like jungle, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
that's rare. That's not happening all the time.
Yeah. No, but
But
it's also in the Sundarbans, you had the tigers turning to fishing, okay, which is not
mhm,
really in their DNA, but they just did it. Again,
yep,
it's evolution of sorts. They started
yeah.
doing it because the forest became smaller, and they decided the prey was in the water, so they just figured it out. So similarly, it's really possible. What do you think has happened to us? Natural selection over the years to
We're
survive urban
taller.
India.
So I mean, like
Taller.
people, humans are taller. That's like one of the big ones. We live a lot longer. That's another one. Uh,
Our voices are more high pitched, I feel, because of the honking and the noise outside. You need to have very high pitched voices, get your point across.
I
It's
don't think
louder.
I don't think 100 years is sufficient for natural selection to play to kind of come into play, at least with the population size that humanity has. But yeah, okay, I'm sure it's definitely a trait, right? I mean, like it's a superior trait to be able to talk over horns.
I'm not kidding about this. I'm telling you honestly, not just horns. Everywhere you go, there's a lot of cacophony or noise. So you have to always scream. Even on a podcast, we're screaming half the time. Look at our 9 o'clock news. People are shouting. You can't get your voice heard. There's an elevation in voice ability. Otherwise, you can't survive. So don't you think
Yeah,
it's true?
this is a good
My
one. Big.
absolutely.
Our teeth are weaker because we eat cooked food now. So the strength
That
of
makes
our
sense. Yeah.
teeth
I think
compared
Bigfoot is
to what it
correct.
was.
My tooth just got
No.
chipped on its own. I don't exactly know how also, and everyone said fix it. I refused because my dentist who didn't charge money is gone. She's retired. So now my mother
Ah,
said we have to go and pay for it. So I said, on principle, I will not. For 30 years of my life, I never paid a rupee in a dentist, and now I have to go and pay. And they're very expensive, by the way. It's not
they are
worth the
very
tooth.
expensive.
Very expensive. You've gone 2 3 times in my living memory in the
I
pandemic.
Oh no, no, I go a lot. I mean, like
Yeah,
I have a
the
mouth,
tooth and back
I
are
have a
your two
disaster.
bugbears. Yeah,
So back, yeah. So I mean, like back has not been so bad over the last few years, but teeth I've always had issues with. I have to go to the dentist 2 3 times a year to do something major,
yeah.
like whether it's an implant, whether it's a root canal, whether it's some sort of cavity
I really
filling,
want
a
health
couple
to
of
be
times a year.
now uniform health service for us. We can just
Yeah.
walk up to a local hospital. I think Parsi General is almost like that. You can do
Hmm.
almost anything, and but the tests, you have to pay for the tests. The tests are
Yeah.
ridiculous, and you don't even understand the tests. And they always test for more tests because the end result of a test is not that you pass. You have to do another test. You see,
Uh,
it's a cycle of tests, and they really test you after some time, test after test after test. I don't know. Maybe I'm insensitive when my dad was doing these things. First, worry about your father, and after some time, that just went out of my. I was just looking at the tests and the charge, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, I know you're not well, but this is now you've taken over the priority in my mind, and my mind is not able to deal with this. Forget that.
uh,
Yeah,
the medical stuff's expensive, man. I mean, like and I mean, like honestly, it feels expensive now, which I don't think it earlier did. Right, like I mean, like I mean, you heard those stories about like Chunky Pandey's father apparently was like some big heart surgeon or something like that, right? And so I remember that when he first
yeah,
joined,
mom or dad? Huh?
I think his dad, and I think when he
Yeah,
first joined Bollywood, that time I heard a number like his dad used to charge like lakhs for an operation or something like that, right?
yeah.
And that was just like, wow, wait, that's
That's
insane, right? I mean, that
90s.
the 90s, yeah. He was I think like one of India's foremost cardiac surgeons.
And
I don't know
son,
if he's huh?
if Chunky is listening to this program, what happened? We didn't discuss this long enough when we had him on the podcast. Father's a leading cardiologist or something, and an
Yeah.
actor who gets his break because he had to assist a famous producer director in the toilet with the Nara. a
Right.
story that was. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, no, it is. Yeah,
But now that you brought up the doctor thing, one last thing I want to rant about, which is the other thing. When I was doing the rounds a couple of years, 3, 4 years back, is that they call you at the same time as everybody else. I don't get that either. Why
Hmm.
we all called at 5? I thought 5. I'm on time at 4:57, but everybody's there. Sir, आपका appointment 5. आपका appointment 5. It's not like 5:15, 5:30. It's all
So
5. We just collect at 5, and then it's a lottery after that. There's
so
like
that's
25
one of the
people.
but Cyrus, that's one of the reasons why you. That's one of like so. I go to a fairly expensive dentist and a fairly expensive doctor, and the reason I do that, one of the big reasons is they don't waste my time.
So you walk in
Like
and you walk in.
I walk in and like within a couple of minutes, like not like immediately, but within a minute or two.
You've got to give me their names. I can't sit through this 25, 30 people
Yeah,
thing, leafing through, everybody staring at each other and waiting. And some of them in bad
yeah,
shape, depending what doctor you're going
yeah,
to. Either you feel guilty, they need to go ahead of you, or you feel terrible that they are there and why are they there? There's
yeah.
more people for you to
No,
wait
that's
for.
why I mean, like but again, I mean, I remember I used to go to a doctor in Valkeshwar, and it would be like an hour and a half before he'd be able to see you. You'd be sitting out there with like 40, 50, 60 people just waiting for him, and he'd give you like 2 minutes, right? He'd
That's what I'm
just get,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was extraordinary or annoying. So that's why again, this is his son only. So it's not like I've changed doctors in that sense, but his son has got like
So
this
where's the
organized thing,
location?
right? Valkeshwar Road.
It's a very private conversation we're having on this so-called
Yes,
podcast. It's almost like two
yes, it
guys on the
is.
phone now. Sylvie's lost interest. He's like, मैं तो पवाई में रहता हूँ, मैं क्या करेंगे वालकेश्वर जाके? And you'll not get parking unless you know the governor. You're not getting parking in Valkeshwar. All right. So let's talk about the elephants.
Yes,
Oh,
we
we
did
did.
talk about the elephants.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
evolutionary imperative
but
to
but
lose
but
your tusks.
it's a theory. Or okay, he's on
Anklesh is
mute.
mute.
He looks lovely here. Really
Yeah,
wish some of
Oh,
you.
sorry.
it
So many
looks like
people.
he's
I wish
saying
you could.
something.
Could you do
No,
an
no, sorry,
app
sorry, sorry. I
where
was
you
on mute.
can mute people? Like in life, like you pass them and you press something and boom, they're talking. We can't hear them.
Yeah.
I'd love it when a
Uh,
cop comes to me in the car. Mute.
there's a little bit of history about
Yeah,
elephants in Mozambique that I can tell
right.
you
And
about.
elephants have great
Is
memory. So go ahead.
Yeah, so in the 70s, like late 70s, about 90% of the country's elephant population had been killed off by poachers to fuel like this internal war that two factions in the country were having. And both sides of the conflict were basically poaching elephants because ivory would fetch a lot of money for both the sides, and both the sides needed that money. So about 90% population was lost, and a lot of the elephants that ended up being left since then have basically what the tuskless ones, because well they didn't
Right.
have tusks, they didn't need to be poached, and that's why now we are seeing like a whole
The Indian
there's an entire area where now there are only tuskless elephants basically.
Well, so
Indian
that's not
elephant
really
female is
evolution,
tuskless.
no?
Yeah,
No, but what you're describing isn't evolution. What you're describing is essentially like I don't know if genocide's the
I think
right word,
it seems
right?
like it
But
was
No,
breeded
no, no.
out
It
of
is
the elephant.
evolution because they have to survive. It's your
oh,
evolution. How do you survive the situation? To survive the situation, the genetic
yeah, I
has been
guess.
changed, and they decided, okay, we don't need this, so these guys leave us alone because evil
Yeah.
humans will otherwise kill
No,
you
but
for no
what's
reason.
happened over here is that basically it was a mass execution or like just like a mass event over a period of a few years where every elephant with a tusk was
Yeah,
killed. So it's
Yeah.
like we're only leaving the tuskless
90%.
alive. Yeah, man, it's a
Those are
I mean, like
possibly
evolution is
very old
generally
elephants, very young elephants,
yeah.
because African elephant, male and female, both have tusks. So that would be
No, but
very
there are
small.
some that are born without as well, right? There are
That
there
must
are
be like
those
a
born without,
rare.
and
It's
but
like
those are the ones that survived now mostly because if you grow up and you have a tusk, they're killing your ass.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
politicians with hearts. Very few are there. It's
Yeah.
a rare thing, but when it's there, it's there, and there's no mutation that happens. That's it. Um, no, I totally get the evolution. Animals, if you look at how animals survive, and us, our
Hmm.
skins change, our features change depending on where we are, how we are. We're dealing with climate. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. I'm fascinated with it when I see dogs in the north. When I go into the hilly areas, they're so shaggy and sheep-like, and they got these thick fur, larger build. They couldn't have been like that. They've all come from the same sort of imprint, and then slowly just become, evolved into different things because of the weather and
Yeah.
the people and what have you. So how sad that the elephants lose their tusks, though. I still think it looks
That's
so
right.
beautiful with the tusks. Imagine us without teeth. For
Yeah,
me,
that's
that's
right.
not so far away, but Silvery, young man.
Have you guys heard about this? They are trying to recreate the woolly mammoth from back in the day. Have you
I
heard
Don't
have
about
a
tell me
this?
that.
relative who's very much like one. Especially, if I ever get to see his back, really.
Are they
So
doing like Jurassic Park shit?
yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So
So the
because the woolly mammoth has basically been preserved because it was in like the Arctics and all, right,
yeah.
like super cold regions. So there are a lot of very well maintained remains of the woolly mammoth that are still available today. That you can actually see. Some of them actually still have hair on them, like the woolly hair on them, and so because they're allowed to get, they're able to get a lot of DNA, like very good rich DNA samples that they need to be able to do this. And so what they've tried to do is use an elephant's womb basically to, or basically how you like test your baby
Fertilize
kind of
the
thing,
egg. To fertilize
fertilize
the
the
egg, you
egg.
have to use
Yeah,
a live,
through, yeah,
the closest
they are
living
trying to
relative.
breed the woolly mammoth back into the world
So this
basically,
step-by-step
in a way.
process. They'll probably have to go, one
Yeah,
generation will have so much of woolly mammoth.
exactly.
Next
But again,
generation
the
will have a
question
little bit
is
more.
the species that they bring back, is that a woolly mammoth or is that just a totally new
It's
species?
a
That's another
hybrid. It'll be a
question.
hybrid from the
It'll be,
elephant and woolly
yeah,
mammoth. And as they get
something like
more and
that.
more,
Yeah.
it'll be tough. But they'll get something out of it if it's
It
successful.
depends though. I mean, like, see, again, if
Yep.
it's like a
Correct.
surrogacy type thing inside the woolly mammoth, then it is a real woolly mammoth that's coming out, right? If it is if it's some sort of a to be a hybrid, it means that you're impregnating an elephant.
Yeah,
It
the
doesn't
elephant
mean
has
that you're
to
Hmm.
has
using
to
it. Yeah,
yeah, not just the what do
yeah,
you call it, the egg as a place to fertilize.
correct.
But what can they do this with the Parsis? Let me just make this note. Can
it's
they?
it's possible.
Huh?
Yeah. Could you
Huh?
could you could
We
yeah.
can preserve 2 3 Parsis. We keep them in the museum. And anyway, Prince of
Okay.
Wales sounds like a
Who
Parsi museum. Huh.
who would be those 2 3 Parsi sauces that you would want to see?
Huh.
That
So
you want
you
to say?
get the best,
You
whatever you
have
want. I mean, who are the whatever species that
the
they
Tata.
believe.
I think one of the Tatas would have to be there.
Yeah, if you're looking at, but I'm also looking at physique and physicality and all that, to
Oh,
preserve so
okay,
they
okay.
have children and all. You have to see who's the Babaus at 10 kids, because you want to then, the breeding must go at a fast rate after that. You want to make the mistake of some great man who will not give you any progeny. And then,
Yeah,
as you
that's
try
true.
and spiral, because spiraling has to happen. But yeah, but please, let's keep that open in our chat if you want to tell us who are the Parsis we should preserve and breed so that we can do this whole program. And please don't mix them with the woolly mammoth. We already got 1 or 2 relatives like that. No need for more. Here, done.
All right.
Should we take a break?
Let's please take a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, the work is, this is nothing is never going to stop in the country, right? Work in buildings, and if it's not your own
I
flat, it's somebody
can't
else's.
really hear anything, so I mean, like, it's quite
I'm
quiet.
I'm in a bomb shelter at home, outside now, inside also. My dad's room's taken over. He's in the hall, poor chap. So we're slowly we're feeling middle class, then lower middle class. Then I'm just going to be one of the plebs. I'm just going to be one of those guys who's going to be shouting at the government, screaming at them, "Maro, Maro!" But you can't do anything. You're impotent with rage, but you can't do anything. I'm going to be that. Yeah. We have to take a break, and as we take a break, we have to find our ad, which I have lost, which I have found.
It's yeah.
Are we doing the home loan?
Yes, yes.
Let's go for it. Oh, I sort of I should be telling you this live because I sort of remember this story. It really happened to
Oh.
me. We discussed dentists earlier. Well, I was at the dentist's just in the morning before the show, early morning. I should have confessed. I don't know why I lied in the middle of the show. I did go to the dentist, and whether he charges me or not, we'll come to that. Well, I was on the dental chair, making small talk with the dentist, discussing the cricket, whatever. I mean, it's always fascinating to have a conversation with a man with your mouth open and his fingers in your mouth. I always enjoy that intimacy. And he was asking me all these questions about my wife, how great she's been looking, how young she's looking, how shapely she looks in a certain dress. I was feeling a little uncomfortable. I felt it was a little too personal, and it was, not to mention the fingers in the mouth while telling me about how beautiful my wife is. Just then my phone rings, and you won't believe, Sylvie, I swear this happened. I can't make this up. Suresh, or what's his name, Ramesh, Silesh, the guy I keep talking about, the Kotak Home Loan thingy that we do. Well, he called up, and I put him on the speaker because my mouth was like that with the dentist's fingers in it, so I couldn't, talk. So I put on the speaker, and in the middle of our dental procedure, he goes and says, Cyrus, he always calls me twice for some reason. I think he thinks I'm deaf. Cyrus, Kotak Home Loans now at 6.5% interest. Ah! And guys, you can see the chip. Yeah, somewhere there's a proper chip there. The dentist's hand slipped and he chipped my tooth because he got so excited and overjoyed with happiness. I mean, this has to be true. You can't make these things up, can you? And the dentist just kept repeating 6.5%, 6.5%. I thought he was going to have an attack of sorts. 6.5%, 6.5%. Yeah. No, I blame Suresh, Sailesh, Ramesh, whatever his name is. I blame him because ऐसे बातें बताने से पहले कृपया ध्यान रखिए. Please, Dhyan Rakhe, before you say this. But anyway, luckily it's not too bad. With all the money I save on my next house with 6.5% interest, I can buy myself a whole new set of teeth. See, there's a silver lining. And if you can give me a mug to keep the teeth in, then I'll show it to everybody on the show. So just visit www.kotak.com for more info or visit your nearest Kotak Mahindra branch today. And also check out Come Home to Kotak, my new podcast. It's out on IVM Podcast app and website and on all other streaming platforms. I can't believe that dentist here. He went berserk when he heard the line. Absolutely nuts. What a story, guys. What a story. Let's get back to our show.
All right. So
But it is an awkward procedure, right? Because they want to talk and the thing is in your mouth and there's always a conversation going on. It's just ridiculous sometimes. Does your guy keep quiet?
Well, no, he doesn't talk to me while I'm doing a sitting.
they usually ask like one-word answers because questions.
Yeah.
They'll ask like yes/no questions for the most part.
Yeah, is it hurting? Should I move? Should I do this? That's it. I mean, like we don't have I
used to have conversations with my free dentist about Bakra and all that. How did this happen? Asking me about the episode and all. My mouth is open, the water's flowing all over, and it's constantly cleaning my water because apparently I had extra saliva, more than an average person's, which I can totally believe because I sort of leak all the time. And I'm kind of guy that I've got wet patches on my shirt within 15 minutes. I don't know how. It's all to do with breastfeeding to a very late age. After 14 years, you should stop, apparently, for mammals. Let's get on with it. What are we talking about?
All right. So this is a slightly sad story, but an important one that we kind of.
It's very tragic.
So it's very, very, very tragic.
How do you say it's slightly sad?
No, I don't mean.
Sorry, it could have been worse. She could have died twice. No. This is it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So what are we talking about?
So Alec Baldwin.
Mistaken.
Yeah. So about a week and a half back, Alec Baldwin was shooting for his now maybe doomed
I
film.
feel like did we not speak about this or was that offline?
No, we did not. We spoke about it offline. We meant to talk about it, we just never got to it.
Okay.
I did it on my TV show, so I'm confused.
Okay. Yeah.
We didn't.
Okay.
We did not. So Alec Baldwin was on set for his film called Rust, which is was an upcoming. We don't know where it stands now, but it was an upcoming Western. Yeah, it was a low budget Western where Alec Baldwin was playing one of the main protagonists. And what happened was he was handed a gun. And he was told that it's a cold gun. That in the biz, apparently, the cold gun term means that there's nothing in the gun. There's no blanks. There's no live rounds.
Doesn't it have to be a cold gun? What the hell they're shooting? By law?
No, so the thing is, you need the muzzle flash. For guns to look realistic, right? You need the muzzle flash, which is the light that you get. Yeah, the muzzle flash that you get when it's shot. So the thing is, blanks are... They just do the muzzle flash and there is no propeller that goes, like there's nothing that propels out of the gun, but it just like the blank then comes off from the side of the gun.
I told you offline also, I've shot it. So there is a spark that happens. We didn't know about it. We hadn't shot it before we were rehearsing for a play. And Rohit Roy, and we shot him. So the gun was here. They got, and it's a feather touch. See, we're not used to all this. This is not a feather touch. It's Colt that was used, so it's a little harder pull. But this was a feather touch gun. So in that conversation, you're holding his neck and you're doing all this overacting, and you can imagine I'm anyway a little bit intense. So everything is over what's necessary. And I pressed it, and a flash happened. I saw it happen, but I didn't expect anything to happen. And the sound, everybody got scared, and he fell.
Yeah.
Rohit Roy was the other actor. He fell, and for a second of my life was over. I couldn't believe exactly.
Did he get hit?
No, so he was
because
he was
blanks
bleeding.
do have.
He was bleeding.
He
was burnt basically. So the spark comes out from the blank.
There's recoil also.
His neck. Yeah. And but the gun didn't touch him. I was a little away from him still, but it burnt him. And after a few seconds he got up, and the first thing he said was, what is the word? What is that thing? I went to Lee Strasberg in '94 for 4 months, learning method acting, etc., method and all that. I think abused American logo or method acting. He was moaning about it, holding his neck. I was really scared. He was very upset actually, and we were all a little upset and shaken. So sorry, that was our medium version or minimal version of that.
Yeah.
And this is
so what happened with Alec Baldwin was he was handed a gun, saying it's a cold gun, there's nothing in it. And there was a scene where they were shooting a close-up of his hand, shooting the gun. So I imagine he was shooting it into the camera, right?
Correct.
Because that's a shot you want.
Or maybe even slightly off, but there in that area.
Yeah, correct. What happened was the gun was loaded after all with a live round, and it ended up shooting the DOP, the
Who was a
director of
female? Yeah,
photography, who
female
was
DOP.
a woman named Helena Hutchinson, who ended up losing her life. And standing right behind her was the
The
director of the
director,
film, Joel D'Souza, if I'm not wrong, but Joel something.
De
And
Silva.
he also got shot, and he was also in like a severely injured because of the shot. So the poor Helena Hutchinson lost her life, and the director standing behind was severely injured and had to be rushed to a hospital. Luckily, now he is still he's fine now. He's made a
He's
recovery.
recovered, but
Yeah.
only we at the podcast can give you the news 2 weeks later. But still, we're here. We're up with it. That's the main thing. But I
Yeah.
know poor. I don't want to say poor Alec Baldwin, but really, how do you get over
Man,
that?
absolutely. That's man, I can
That
imagine.
just
Yeah.
puts your life in perspective.
Yeah.
Everything else, divorce, fights,
And
arguments
also
for
I
the
should
car
I should
park,
clarify in Alec
interactions.
Baldwin's defense, I should clarify that the person who was in charge of checking the guns has since also admitted, saying "Ke, yeah, it was my
No,
lapse of
it can
not
never be the
mentioning,
actor's fault. It's not his job to understand
This
what's
is not his
happening.
act. This is not the
You give
actor's
him the
fault.
gun and you tell him this is what's happening. You have to do
Yeah.
that's it. You can take him through
There
it.
is
And by
a
the way, I think it was only one live
there is more
rounds.
to this
They
case
had
though.
fired 2, 3 before that, and they weren't
Yeah.
live, right?
Yeah,
So
correct, correct. So
they had
there
to
is a
keep
little
shooting
more
and
to this case.
yeah.
Cyrus
There's a
Mike.
little more to this case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little more to this case. The thing is, so of course now we know that it's a low budget western, right? But there were a lot of problems with the production beforehand also. So like already we know that Hollywood is going through this. Production crews have been going on strike, saying, "Okay, we want proper remuneration, or we want overtime, or we want proper hours to be able to go home when we're supposed to be able to go home, or like pack up, Uh, this set had been seeing a lot of these problems already. There were like a lot of lapses in, I don't know, security, and the gun previously, like I think like a few days back, had been fired at in some other part or something of the set or something, and people had already been complaining about safety restrictions on set, and then this also happened.
But
It's just mad.
Silvery, my experience in America, and Amit is a better authority about this, is they are 70 times tighter than we are about all this. 70 times minimum. And I'll tell you why. We shot with MTV in 1997 or 98, one of the VMAs. So we were shooting on New York. Since we were in New York, we started shooting the city and all that. And we used their crew. And I wanted to do we wanted me to jump into the water from going to Staten Island on that ferry thing, and we had taken a private thing and all that. And it was, can we jump into the water? It was very cold and all that, but we thought it'd be really funny or whatever. And they said, absolutely not. You got some 46 permissions to get through, and it's not even a permission thing; it's a security thing. You'll have to wear this, that, and the other. For that, permissions be taken. So it's not. It's a country where you can't. Their working standards are much higher than ours for any kind of stunt, for any kind of. I I I can't understand. I just cannot understand.
So my questions always fundamentally come down to this, right? Why is there any kind of live ammunition on a movie set, right? How is that there? I just don't understand that, right? I mean, like
I don't.
I mean,
like
the prop
I've been on
guy.
sets.
No, the prop guy has to be held accountable.
Yeah.
It's impossible that there should be a live cartridge. Like you said, miles away from the set, the live cartridge should have been removed from all the real guns that were coming on the set.
No, I
There's just
think there is a thing
why?
where they do get live rounds on set. I forgot what the reason
For
is or
what?
why they do it.
No, so they
You're
could. The
sure?
only time they could do when they're
Because I've
shooting
heard
in the
that they do.
distance, shooting in the distance, and they're getting they might as well get
No,
the proper
dude, you
shot.
don't fire
But
live shot. Why would you ever fire live ammunition?
Yeah.
In
Also,
2021, it makes no sense to fire live ammunition. Everything is available through either practical or computer effects. Why
and
would you ever fire live animation?
they're so careful about all this. If you work in an ad
Hmm.
there, you work with a TV crew there, feature film crew, low budget or high budget, they will not. They don't break the law. It's almost impossible. That's what I can understand. It must be some human error, obviously, but
No, it has
the
to be
same.
human error. I'm guessing the person who's in charge of the guns is a gun fan, right? Because why else would you be in charge of guns if you don't enjoy guns, right? And
No,
so
it
there's
comes
some
into
error somewhere.
no, Amit. So what happens is the production guy. You've done all this. The production guy will now be in dealing with the person who's the expert on the guns, who you hire the guns
Right.
from. Then it becomes his problem. Expert
Yeah.
will say, "Ye mera gun hai, le lo," and whatever. And after that, it's your problem. You have to make sure that there's no. How can you leave a live cartridge in? Come on. I mean, it makes no sense.
It just
Of
it's
all the
really
things,
difficult to understand.
forget wearing a harness for a 20-foot jump or anything. That's less risky than a
Yeah.
live cartridge. So
No, live cartridge should never be there. I don't understand it, right?
how did
But
Brandon Lee die?
again,
This is
yeah. So
the
he
third
didn't
time
die
it's
from a
happened.
yeah.
Live cartridge.
No, he didn't die from a live cartridge. He
Live.
died from
Who shot?
no. There was an explosion within the gun, which basically threw the blank uh, broke the gun integrity and that flew out at him or something like that.
No,
It
no,
was. It
no.
wasn't a live cartridge.
Let's ask our viewers to check. It's a live cartridge again, and it's the
Oh, I
same
thought it was.
mistake. The proper
I
bullet
I
shot him.
I
There is
seem
a
to
third
remember
instance
feeling.
also in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, there was
So,
a very old one too as well.
so I'm
You
just
remember? Yeah.
wondering
So
whether it's
Brandon
personal and
Lee.
you
There's a
plan it.
previous case. There's a previous
Uh,
case where Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee,
Yeah, we just
uh,
discussed that, Silvery.
on the set of, oh, you know, The Crow, right? This was
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
of
set
course,
of
we
The
that's
were,
what,
Crow.
we
that's what
were
we're
just talking
Just
discussing.
about
okay.
Brandon Lee only, dude.
Sorry, I
Are
was
you
reading
on
the
a
comments.
podcast?
Sorry, I was reading the comments.
No, his argument, Amit's argument is that it was a blank. So then it's nobody's error. It's just like
Okay,
a
in the
blank.
film shooting preceding the famous scene, the gun was used as a prop, was loaded improperly, made dummy rounds improvised from live cartridges that had the powder charges removed by special effects crew. So in the close-up, it would look like normal-looking ammunition. However, the crew neglected to remove the primers from the cartridges, and at some point before the fatal event, one of the rounds had been fired. Although there were no power charges, the energy from the ignited primer was enough to separate the bullet from the casing and push it partway into the gun panel, where it got stuck, a dangerous condition known as a squib load, during the fatal scene, which called the revolver to be fired at Lee from a distance of 12 to 15 feet. The dummy cartridges were replaced with blank rounds, which basically what happened is when they were experimenting, something got stuck in the barrel, right? And then when he was firing
Which
with the
remained stuck
actual
in the barrel
blank, which remained
when they
stuck, when he shot with the
it came
blank,
out.
that pushed it out, and that's what caused his
Right.
death.
And just a one shot
Yeah,
of this half bullet which had
yeah,
some sort of powder in it.
yeah.
Oh.
And he could
No,
have
but
had a
that's
great
negligent.
career. Yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
It was a Crow. Crow is a great movie. One of my favorite
Yeah.
movies from
Uh,
back then.
But there's negligence at the very least. It's just
Oh
negligence,
yeah,
and
hundred
negligence.
percent.
I mean, in law is a crime. What can you say? That's your job, right?
100%.
The prop guy. We're all in the business here. The prop guy's job is that. I mean, look at we do an ad film and how they take care of the smallest little phone,
Yeah,
say the product. I mean, everything about the phone is perfect. They've checked everything. They clean it perfectly. Everything. It's the same thing with a gun, but you should do it to 100 times more because the potential. It's like a Rottweiler versus
yeah,
a lapdog. The potential is there to harm you because of what can happen. That's very scary. Very
yeah.
sad. And Alec Baldwin, I thought, I mean, just wondering what kind of karma is this? I mean, he's just a guy holding a gun for the 150,000th time. And oof.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, I don't even know what. It's just sad, man. I mean, like it just sucks.
Anyway, I got to tell you one thing. Rohit Roy, who lovely guy and all that, we had a great time, whatever, but a little bit acty while doing the play. The moment
Oh,
because in the rehearsals when I would put the gun, I'm playing this. This is Chas Palminteri, the famous actor. His
huh.
thing called Faithful, his play. And when I'm holding this and rehearsing with him, he was doing an Amitabh Bachchan. There was never any real fear. His eyebrows would go up, and he would be like very cool about everything. But after that incident, the moment the gun, firstly, I was a little ginger, which made my
Yeah.
performance more real because you're not that sure once the gun is in your hand. Everyone gets a little nervous. Man, Kunal was nervous. The director, producer, everyone was nervous. And on stage, we never got over that nervousness fully and worked very well for us because then he was really the overacting about whatever that stopped. The body language became really uncomfortable, which you
Yeah.
can't do unless you really are. It was fantastic. So in that way,
Interesting.
it worked. But God, for a few seconds,
No,
I
but
can tell
like
you.
on the play, I'm like so. I mean, like I don't understand why you don't why on a play or something like that wouldn't just use like a pataka gun, like the.
So we tried different things. When we tried this, the Remo, who was our producer, he said, "You try this gun; it's completely blank, but the sound effect and experimental. The whole play starts with that. Where
Oh,
it fires the gun in the air. Okay, so when we fire the gun in the air, it was the whole crowd it's just a fantastic effect, bro. Speaking of
yeah.
drama, it can't be matched with the fake one. We tried it. There's a huge difference. People are not paying attention. You're slow at the beginning of a play, whatever. Everybody comes to attention with that. Your friggin' heart is beating fast. It's a super moment of drama, and I wasn't supposed to shoot him in that thing. The gun went off because of the feather touch and because overacting and him, not responding or whatever. It
Oh,
doesn't get shot again. It gets shot only once in the beginning.
okay.
And at this point, it went off in the accident during the rehearsal. But that was the first time it went off. We hadn't heard the sound yet, and
Yeah,
then
we
we
got to
were
ask
very
Rohit to
convinced after that.
now. Now we really got to ask Rohit to come and talk about this.
Sorry, we
We
get
gotta
Rohit on.
talk- Yeah, yeah, we'll get him on.
Love the
I'll
stories. Yeah,
message him. I'll ask him to come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
not making it up. He'll tell you his version will be much worse than mine. Let me tell you. We'll do half the
No,
podcast
that's
will be
exactly
that.
it. We got to hear the
Yeah,
second half of the
yeah,
story, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but poor guy. For him, he's a upcoming film actor at that
Yeah.
point. He had Swabhiman behind him. He had all this stuff, and we needed him more than he needed us, in a sense. So we like to
Uh,
have him in the play because he's a big name and all that. And then he's coming all the way to town. Very difficult. We had a few rehearsals in Bandra, which was halfway, but otherwise mostly it was town. So after all those sacrifices, he makes no money on it, nothing. The play doesn't even run that long, but he gets shot. There's more hard work than he ever did in his life. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was
cool.
Cyrus,
fun moments.
Cyrus,
Kaustubh has entered
can
the
you do
room. Ladies and gentlemen, Kaustubh has come here for no apparent reason to irritate me. I can't show you without effing up the mask or the camera. Can you put your head in front of it rather? Yeah, it's your best angle. People loved it. Yeah,
this?
cats are going crazy. Who's the young Milind Soman? People are asking immediately. Have you put on weight? Looking good? Okay. Sorry to have a personal conversation. This is the level of the podcast, really.
Hey,
Uh,
we do dental tips, and you can ask people about their weight as well.
and then we shoot actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like the psychological issue you have when you have to prove your story better than the story the other one's telling. So you got Alec Baldwin's horrible tragedy, and I have to tell you my story. This is mera pass bhi hua. This is real arrogance, unbelievable. So are we doing AMAs? Oh,
No,
Let's do it.
can you do the second ad? Yeah.
Oh.
All right, ad guys.
Ah, yes, it's right here. Slay Coffee. I've been telling you guys about Slay's amazing coffee, but Slay has a whole host of non-coffee products too. So hear this, listen ye all. Take their lip-smacking lavender hot chocolate, for instance. The most soothing, relaxing cup of hot chocolate. Great to start your day off and also to wind it down. I swear I had 3 cups of it just last night. So damn satisfying. It's right here. I'm going to have it right now. Slay also has the absolutely delicious cheese melt chicken wrap. I mean, check that out. It's really tasty. Oh, every bite of it causes a symphony in your mouth. Do you know what a symphony is? He's too young. There's a kid next to me. He has no idea what a symphony is. It's like jazz music, yeah, jazz. Or even their sinful double chocolate cookie. These melt in your mouth cookies are so soft they're perfect to accompany your morning cup of Slay. There's something about chocolate and coffee. They always work together for me, frankly speaking. Now I know your mouth is watering just like mine, so don't wait. Order India's best rated coffee today on Swiggy, Zomato, rather Swiggy and Zomato today. I'm so intoxicated by my lovely coffee that I can't get my words right. Use code MySlay on Zomato to get 50% off on your Slay coffee. Slay Coffee, India's best coffee and non-coffee experience. And now, as we prepare for our AMAs, I shall taste Slay coffee.
Actually, you're not the only one. It's I just got this yesterday from somebody. They were thanking us for the Slay
Wow.
Coffee endorsement.
This is
Hey,
better than
That's
advertising.
awesome.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
no, this is
absolutely-
really cool, right? Yeah, no, so somebody
Yeah, this
tagged
is
me on
the-
this yesterday.
I mean, honestly, you can't do better than this.
No,
That's
you can. This is
amazing.
great.
Wow. But
Awesome.
Slay Coffee,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. You're like that partner I never had. Slurp. Now this is my own advertising, by the way. I'm taking it on a personal level. The kid left after the word symphony. Couldn't handle.
He's gone to he's gone to find a dictionary. He's going to like, okay, I'll.
Yeah, and he's looking under C for symphony, and it's going to take hours.
All right. Let's get to the AMAs. The first one is a very interesting comment from Ruben David. It's like a dialogue. He says, in a country where threats are given to cricketers, infants, and cricketers,
Yeah.
cricketers and other people, sorry. In a country where threats are given to cricketers, infants, and cricketers are abused based on
There's a
religion.
apostrophe missing. The children of
Yeah,
cricketers
correct.
and cricketers are
We
abused
have-
based on religion. We all have
We have already lost.
Cricket doesn't
Cricket
matter.
doesn't
really.
matter. It's absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
very
I'm
true.
just I don't know why we're going on talking about it after a point because it's just there's I'm all for
Same thing,
banter.
yeah.
We've said this all the time. I love sledging. I love you pull somebody's leg. You even you can get your comeuppance when you don't do well. You're in the public eye. It's fair. It's all good. All fair in sport and war. But you can't abuse somebody's like the personal side of the thing. Children, religion. I mean, it's so unnecessary. It's very cowardly also. And don't forget, they don't show their faces. It's not like the old-fashioned critic whose name is there. You can talk back to him. It's just I am Pegasus the second or something, and boom, deal with it. Yeah, it's terrible. Let's just have Slay Coffee to get over it. Cheers.
Absolutely. Next one comes from Abraham Oomen. He says,
Woman. It's a
winters are
Malayali
setting in.
Ah.
He says, winters are setting in. How long or short do you think it would last since we are facing climate change?
Abraham, spot on. So I work out in this really terrible gym, but I go out to breathe because it's really like a box. And I can tell you the difference early morning at like 6 in the morning. It's been so hot and muggy in October. Today was the first day. There was a little nip. I was just
Yeah.
talking to a couple of people out there, and we all felt that nip, and we actually enjoyed staying out and getting the fresh air. Where normally we just get out, breathe for a second, and come back. We actually enjoy the air. That early morning air, which is the only time in Mumbai's air is somewhat breathable. So I got to tell you, he's right. Today starts I won't call it winter. That's being extremely positive, but less summer. Let's call it less summer. That's its real name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's
May,
actually a
may I
good
just
teacher.
No, yeah, no,
That
may I just say one more thing? Sorry, and that is
uh,
for people like me, Amit also who sweats a lot, Sylvie to some extent, but definitely me and Amit. You don't know how important it is to go to 2 3 months where the sweating is less. It's
yeah.
so beautiful. I'm so grateful. You have
Absolutely.
no idea. I'm scared to
Yeah.
raise my arm because after drinking the coffee, I start getting adrenalized again. But yeah.
So
Anyway,
right now, isn't PM Modi in at some convention, like some COP something 2021
yeah,
for
yeah,
this
yeah.
climate change
Before
something
that,
like that?
he was in Italy, where he complained about Sonia and Rahul to the Prime Minister of Italy, and he said, "No, I'm not taking them back." And they had this to and fro, and yeah. But but the best part is he hugged the Pope. So that's a good
Yeah,
sign.
correct.
That's a good
Yeah.
Okay.
sign. That's one religion taken care of. Now if we can just get a couple more, everybody will feel happier about everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody was some wise guy was wisecracking about how the Pope must be having various Santa Claus figures, and with his present avatar not that far away. I don't think that's
Yeah.
true. I think the Vatican has Santa Claus. Would that be too much? Yeah.
Correct.
But I would like to go to the Vatican once. I'm not very into
Absolutely.
this religion. We've discussed it and all. I just want to
It's because of the
see
architecture. Yeah.
the architecture and also the fact that he comes out to the balcony. And Shahrukh does the
Okay.
same thing in Manat. And please, no offense, but and then there's throngs of people, but they're people from all over the world, etc., etc. And the magic that they create. Again, from a non-religious point of view, I just like the fact that people have a meeting, a harmonious sort of meeting.
Mhm.
That's all. I can't. I'm off
Are
religion now.
you
It's tough.
are you allowed to do like film shoots and all at the Vatican, or do
Of
you have to
course.
like recreate the Vatican somewhere
No,
else?
I
No, no,
think
no. What is that famous
Da Vinci
Tom
Code.
Hanks film, Da Vinci
Da
Code and
Vinci.
all?
Yeah.
Oh,
Across the whole place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
This is a guy who doesn't go for Sunday mass anymore.
Right.
I don't know. He might. He might be the perfect American. He's one of the guys. There's no negative mark about Tom Hanks, right?
Tom
Tom
Hanks, I
Hanks,
can't think of anything that
nothing.
nobody has ever
No
said a
colleague has
bad
said a
word.
bad thing. No female has said a bad thing. No
Yeah.
person who worked with him said a bad thing. No small guy on the set. No big guy on the set. No
So
co-actor.
there are a few like that though, right? Even like you've never heard a negative
India.
thing. Uh, Brad Pitt.
In India.
Yeah,
Nobody
Brad Pitt.
in
Indian
India.
Indian actors.
Good question.
Someone who's completely comes out as a. I suppose Sunil Shetty will be one. That nobody ever says any bad thing about
He's
Sunil
actually
Shetty.
really cool. Yeah.
He's really nice. Bobby Deol. Nobody says anything bad about Bobby Deol.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy.
People say Henry Winkler is one of the nicest people in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah,
Also.
yeah.
Okay.
Was, he played the Fonz in
Yeah.
Pawns, the
Yeah.
Pawns, of
Happy Days.
course. Happy Days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
He's
been
also
all
in
over the
Barry.
place.
If anyone's watching
Yeah.
Barry, right now on Barry.
He's in Barry. He played the father on Psych too. No, that was Corbin Burnson. That wasn't Henry Winkler.
Corbin Burnson, I'm sure,
Uh,
has many enemies.
yeah, I'm
He
sure he
seems, he
does.
seems like his characters. Okay, shall we
No,
move on to the next? And
yes.
now
All right, sure.
we're gonna.
This
Uh,
one's
not even-
interesting. Actually, I see an interesting question. I'm just going to throw that up.
Yeah, sure.
As you all know,
As
Cyrus
you
was
already
the
know,
lead of
Cyrus.
everything yesterday. No, I haven't seen yesterday because of the Indian lead. I'm racist.
Okay.
I'm
You haven't
kidding.
seen it, really?
Yeah, I saw the other one with my daughter where they have the covers of all the Beatles songs, and I think what is the name of the song movie? It'll come back to me at some point. Which was
Peter
fabulous.
Jackson from Lord of the Rings.
Peter
Peter Jackson is
director.
making a new
Oh,
Beatles documentary called Get
yeah,
Back.
yeah. We
That
discussed
looks
that.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks really good.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
looks really
Yeah.
good.
They have like
No,
some
but this
60.
this is
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh,
no, I was just saying,
unreleased footage.
that's the Peter Jackson thing, right? Like
Yesterday is
there's a
the
bunch of.
fantasy where the Indian kid basically is the only one who knows the Beatles songs or something.
He's the only one who knows Beatles songs in the world,
Yeah.
and then he has like this competition.
possible.
I've seen it. I enjoyed it. It was like
Yeah.
completely light and nonsensical, but at the same time, it's like uh, it has that feel to it, right? Like it's like people who have never heard these songs are hearing them for the first time, and that just kind of gives you like this kind of I don't know, it gives you joy,
I
man.
enjoy it better when it comes out of left field when we're seeing a movie and it suddenly comes out. There's a Beatles song in the background which you immediately pick up, Or I remember Wonder Years because 60s sort of setting
Mm,
the serial. Lots of suddenly you heard Blackbird singing in the dead of night. First it begins with little help from my friends, but with Joe
Joe
Cocker's
Cocker.
version.
Yeah.
But all the time the music. I used to just love Wonder Years. Because what song will I discover today? It
Yeah.
was like that.
Um,
But
no,
yeah,
but watch this yesterday thing. I think you'll enjoy it because it has this thing, right? There, like if you look at YouTube, right, one of the most popular trends on YouTube right now
mm.
is people hearing classic songs for the first time, right? So like if you watch these
Yes, yes. I've been
people,
watching. I've been watching their Elvis portrayals and all.
yeah,
Like in the ghetto. I think we discussed it also. The same thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They've
yeah,
never heard it. Another generation. They never heard it, and then they give you their spontaneous reply. I want to do
correct,
that with
right.
Hindustani classical.
Let's do it.
Okay, but I can only take
Well,
30 seconds at a time. I need my
no,
Slay
that's
coffee
okay.
with me at all times. Yeah. Uh-uh. Don't forget my friend Kunal's neighbor was Kishori Amonkar. So we've heard the raw footage. God bless her
Ah,
soul. Huh.
okay.
Uh, let's
No, but
just say somebody.
we should look at that. We should look at doing some
You got to get the
reaction
culture.
videos.
The cultures be completely something the person is completely
Yeah.
non-inclined to or has no idea about. Otherwise, it won't work. So
No, but that's why
let's
it's
find like a
fun,
Malaysian
right?
music or something totally different and new. Yeah,
So that's a lot why these things are fun to watch, right? Like I like you see like one of the ones which I really
Across
watched
the Universe,
enjoyed.
like the
What's
Beatles
the
song. I think that's the name of the movie. Across the Universe. I
Oh,
hope that
okay.
was the name. Yeah,
If
and they've got
that's the
all
name,
the
I
covers
have not
playing,
seen
and
that. I need to.
it's a lovely film. I love that. Yeah. Sorry,
I
you
will
were
check
saying.
it out.
All right.
I don't remember what, but that's fine. We can go to a new question. I can't remember
Okay.
what I was saying.
Okay.
This one is very interesting. Another very interesting comment from Jannat Nain. She says, I feel like I know so much about Bombay and its privileged elite just through this podcast. You guys spend most
Janat,
episodes
I,
talking a lot
your
about South
name,
Bombay.
I presume, means heaven or paradise is a better translation. But that word and Mumbai are paradoxical. Okay, this is not paradise from any angle. It may have been, but it's not now. I can tell you that for sure. Yeah, but are we the privileged elite really? I don't. It's all relative. Then I hear
It
about. So I had
is.
this kid who came in to work out the other day, and I thought we were trying to help him out because he's living alone here. He comes from Pune, from Symbiosis, blah blah blah, and he's struggling at some job in Nariman Point. And the other day, I asked him, "How do you drove down? How do you come from Pune?" He said, "No, my uncle's helicopter he just got it, so I took a ride." I was like, "My life sucks, man. What's my life?" And here we think we're helping him. I'm like, life. Suddenly I have to go
I
looking for sponsorship from this guy. His uncle has a helicopter. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
I always feel like I'm like on the other side of the rope looking into the elite. So I don't know that I qualify. I really don't. I always feel like you always feel like oh, okay.
The problem
And
is
but you're
where we
close enough.
come from. No,
Yeah.
no, it's the mark of where we come from. There are really
Uh,
rich people. Okay,
no,
but
and it's
most
a
of us are sort of in the
proximity.
middle of that,
Yeah.
at best. So but you're just coloring all with one brush here. It's not really fair. Yeah, Hiranandanis live 3 buildings away from me and own the whole of Powai. Yes, they do. But their lives and our lives aren't the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is that we walk in the same lane. That's it. We walk
Yeah.
literally in the same lane. After that, our lives are different. From his shoes
It's
onwards, things are different.
proximity. Again, with all certain, acknowledging all the privilege, etc., etc., etc. Right? But I mean, like, still, it's just that sometimes, yeah, there is a perception that there's a lot more wealth than there is.
And also, I may be wrong about this, but I just feel why be so untrue to yourself, all the time? We're always covering up for being who we are. We are middle class India is always ashamed of themselves. We have to stop being
Oh,
ashamed. Why do we have to change our
yeah, we're
accents
not
and
middle
change our
class.
attitudes?
We're not middle class, please.
In the big thing of we are sort of middle classy. I
We're
mean, if you
not.
look,
We're
if
not
you
middle
divide into
class.
three classes, I'm saying people who
No,
have
dude,
very less
you're
money,
not middle
people
class.
who have super money, and then some in the middle. Yeah.
Cyrus, you're well entrenched in the 1% of India.
I can't afford weight
Very,
gainer.
very,
I had to make a
huh?
choice between normal way or weight gainer because I couldn't take both. I said I
You
can't
you're
work
you're
for
you're
budget.
not like insanely wealthy, but at the same time, you're well
You
entrenched in the
bastard. You're
1%.
making me feel bad about myself. Where's my
Yeah,
gun?
no, no, you're
Yeah.
very much
Where's
well
Alec
entrenched in
Baldwin?
the.
I need Alec Baldwin. Call him here now. What the
Okay,
hell's going on?
listen, dude. The 1% in India. What is 1% of the Indian
Yeah.
income
It's less than
income
1%.
size?
It's less.
Uh,
They've rounded it up to 1%. It's far
uh
less.
yeah,
Look at it. Do the maths. 1.3 crores and do the
huh?
maths of people who earn over a crore a year, for example. I think
Yeah,
that's where it comes from. And
right.
it's ridiculously low.
Yeah,
The percentile, it's ridiculously low.
yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't get your point.
My point is, Hamlet, to thine own self be true. I don't want to
Oh,
act all the time that, be patronizing about people dying in tribes and here and there, and we have a sense of empathy sometimes, or we don't.
yeah, of
But
course.
it's not our life, so I want to talk more about my life. That's why we're doing this podcast. Now that
Exactly.
may be vulgar to some people, but I'm at least being true to myself. And true to myself is, yes, Mud Island sucks for me to drive to early morning. I
Yes.
do go into depression in the night. That's my life. Why do I have to lie? I can't. I mean, I do feel bad about the farm laws, and I'm probably on the side of the farmers for sure. But it doesn't affect me as much as Mud Island. That's the
Yep.
truth.
It is. No,
I'm
and
bad.
listen again. The point of it is you're exactly right, right? I mean, like these kinds of conversations, you need to have them in like pure honesty, right? Otherwise, what's the point? If you're doing performative shit here also, then what's the point, right? This is there is a sense of like this is who I am and this is what it is, right? So I agree. I don't think that you
Not in
shy
an
away
arrogant
from it.
way. That sounds very arrogant.
Yeah,
It's like the Popeye statement. No, I'm not saying it that way. I'm just saying this is our life. We got to
yeah.
examine it. We can't avoid it or pretend it's in some other life, because we always try to pretend it's some other life. That's my only trying to run away. Of course, I'd love to have some other life. Now in hindsight, when I bring that up,
But yeah,
there's so many other
I'd
lives I
love
would
to have
choose.
like
Yeah,
Hiranandani money, right? It'd be amazing
yeah.
to do that, but at the same time, I'm okay
but
with not
but
having
everything
it.
has a cost. There's no free lunch. So when you want to be somebody else, along with that, you think the money thing is okay, but with that there'll be another. Somebody will have cancer.
There
There'll
is.
be a
All their
horrible
problems and all. Yeah.
marriage. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the God is a comedian, or goddess, or whoever, if there is
Mm.
one, or I really
So
believe that everything is ridiculous.
I was listening to Scott Adams, right, the guy who writes the Dilbert comic, on a
Oh,
podcast a couple of days ago, right, and he was talking about this concept, right, which was basically you got to accept the full package, right? I'm a phenomenally rich comedian, sorry, comic writer. Okay, I get to work very little or as little as I want to. I get all this fame. I get all these people who want to talk to me, but at the same time, I also get a shitload of criticism. I get more criticism than anybody else does. People are like, always calling me like, this right wing nut job, white supremacist, this, that, the other, and I'm just like, it's the whole package, right? I mean, like, I don't get to pick and choose. I can't just be this famous rich comic writer and then expect that I'm not going to get the other side of it, right? It's the whole package. And I think that that's part of like, one of the things that I think we miss in India just generally. Like, you remember when we were talking about those mental health issues with the tennis
the
player?
sports people, yeah.
Yeah, so again, it's the whole package, right? And I think that it kind of it
That's
articulated
because
the
they're not
idea
seeing
well.
it like you're seeing it. She's
Oh,
not seeing it. Osaka is not seeing it like we are seeing it.
all right.
The perspectives is everything, right? We are
Yep.
seeing, super successful multimillionaire, but she's seeing all the negatives which we're not able to see.
Yep.
We can't believe it. So that, I don't know. I give up. I don't want to be anybody else. I've decided I'll just be me. It's tough enough being me. Why try to be something else now? God, it'll be painful. Silver, you be somebody else. I'm sick of you.
Okay. Who, man? Who can I be? Oh, okay.
Um,
One final
hurry
very
up. I want
important.
this young kid, 18-year-old
Yeah, I
boy
know, I know, I know.
with a
Final, final,
full
final.
beard. No, shave those
Final.
beards. India lost. Yeah, there's no point.
Girish Patil says,
November.
opinion on Munawar Faruqi's show's cancellation in Mumbai after
Oh,
same
I
thing in
didn't know.
Ahmedabad. I don't know about, I don't know if you
Uh,
guys heard, but
voluntary
uh,
cancellation, no?
so 29th,
Oh,
30th, and 31st, he was doing shows at Rang Sharda in Borivali, Rang
yeah.
Sharda Auditorium in Borivali. And Rang Sharda Auditorium, the owner of the space, got a call from Bajrang Dal saying, "Ke, cancel your show or we will set fire to your auditorium. It's an anti Hindu show." So they had to cancel the shows because audience safety is, of course, of importance, and they had to be escorted out of the
No,
venue
here's the
with
thing.
police and all.
If there's a threat,
And also,
whoever
they had a sensitive
threatening
certificate
violence, no, no,
allowing
no.
them to go ahead with the
Why
show.
don't we get police protection to people, normal people, who, when a threat of violence is, escalating or possible, there's a good chance of it happening. Why isn't then? I see the police in Valkes were always standing and saluting VIPs. I mean, we have enough people doing nothing. I would send them to Rangshar. Immediately have 40 guys with machine guns standing there. So any activists who want to burn, or standing around with a lighter, or matchstick or whatever, you can catch them immediately. I find it a little appalling that we have to just back off all the time. Of course, this
Yeah,
the
and
buck stops
also
with
it was a
Rangshar.
it's a sold out show. Who are you to decide that I can't go watch a show that I want to watch, man? Like
No, no,
that's
one
such
second.
a
Leave the audience out of it. It's the entrepreneur has to decide, right? Because he's thinking from point of view of whether he's going to get screwed financially more
that's
than anything else,
also true.
right? So I'm saying, why? Obviously, he's not even going to try to call the police because he doesn't believe he's going to get support, which is a little scary.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my problem. Why can't we have, bodyguards with guns? or you have 10 cane corsos or Rottweilers or German shepherds. Just keep people there. These bullies will always bully you. Just do what the Mossad does: shoot first, finished. And while he's cracking jokes, a few people are being in the background. Alec Baldwin free. You can make a phone call. Sorry, take that back. Take that back. But what I'm trying to say is that the producers, and it's not the comic or the audience you have to talk about here. You would talk about the producer, the guy who's.
But
I mean,
no,
falls
see
in his
but the organizer from his end, he's gotten the certificate from the
Organizer.
censor also. Like, what more is supposed to do? A poor guy.
But
Now,
he
if
has
he's
to
being
take that
threatened,
chance,
he doesn't
right?
want-
So he has to call the police and say, "Look, I've got this legitimate threat." I mean, New Zealand pulled out of Pakistan on the day of the thing because one phone call came to Martin Guptill's wife in bloody New Zealand, and that was enough to
Yeah,
stop the
true.
tour. So
Yeah.
here, all you got to do is quickly call the police. And say, I expect to. This guy is controversial. You know what's happening with Munawar Farooqui? Please give me protection. And I mean armed protection. I don't want two guys with lathis standing there with big stomachs.
But how
I mean,
fast is
proper
that
guns.
giving protection thing? Will they come immediately? I don't know.
Should.
Yeah,
Don't
it
you
should
think they
ideally.
should?
Correct. You're right. Absolutely, they
should.
should. But I'm sure there's like a process that they go, otherwise have to go through to get people security
Right.
and all that.
So
Like
it
this.
takes 3
But-
days to get bail. After getting
Yeah,
bail,
that's-
it would take 3
that's the
days to
thing.
get the security. By which time Munawar is
Very
shot himself.
possible,
Okay,
I
take that
imagine,
back.
yeah.
Hope that never happens. Sorry. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Honestly. Oof. Yeah. What do we do?
Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. It's just insane, right?
I think, see,
There-
Bhai, if you're an entertainer and you want to be open about everything and flexible about everything anywhere you go, you need to get your own security. Is what I think. And there's so many policemen in Walkeshwar, Sayadri guest house, who are doing nothing but irritating me all day by causing traffic jams and stopping people and saluting. There's so many of them. I'm thinking, do you
Yeah.
need more than 2 to open one gate? And I'll help. 2 plus me 3. That's enough. And send the 1,000 of them off to these kind of places where they can do real work. This is what they've joined up to do. To help the normal guy go about his job, providing entertainment and commerce, the 2 most important things in the world, other than health, of course. What the hell? That's where they should be, and they should allow the show to go on, and the producer should not blink. He should say, "I have lovely state machinery which works very fast. Mr. Bajrangal, thanks for calling. We'll
Like-
give you 2 free tickets, but no lighting."
You're absolutely
anything."
right. You're absolutely right. Because if something like this happens, the police should actually take it upon themselves to prove that no, our city is safe because Mumbai police is
Yeah.
here in this city. That you
Look at
cannot
Rang
threaten
Sharda, at
people
least
like this in our city, and they should
Rang
take
Sharda
it upon
Bandra,
themselves.
Rang Sharda is 1,000 seater, 11 biggest seaters. Okay, there's a lot of people if it's sold out. Why should they all be cheated of their fun? The producer,
Absolutely.
etc., they're all doing the right
Yeah,
thing.
correct.
They're upstanding
correct.
citizens. They should be protected, not the
Yeah.
moron who wants to blow you up. That's not
Correct.
the upstanding citizen.
Exactly. Also,
I can't
threatening
say-
that you're going to set fire to the place. How are you not arrested
I'm
after that?
stopping the commerce machinery from acting. I'm against that
Yeah.
above everything else. It should never be allowed.
Yeah.
Bully the
world
bully.
world is hard enough right now without being able to not do business.
What are
Yeah,
you-
absolutely.
He's a,
Correct.
he's a comedian and entertaining some people. What are you stopping?
No.
It's ridiculous. Chalo,
Also,
put me in a
after
bad mood.
after the fact that it's been proven that he had not done anything wrong the last time also.
There's no proven or
regardless.
unproven scenario because that's always going to
Yeah.
be subjective. Who cares about all that? I'm saying that the show
That's
must
true,
go
yeah.
on. The producer should have
Yeah.
the guts to not feel scared. He's done this out of cowardice more than anything else, it looks like, and fear. And that fear is also the blame of the state and the central government. Where
It
you
is
don't-
entirely the blame of the state. I'm sorry, but you can't blame the entrepreneur for not having faith
Yeah.
in this circumstance when
Yeah,
we have seen
yeah.
it over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, those cafes and all, and he's out there, loud target. They'll come the next weekend and the next weekend. So you need to have security in place, and the perpetrators have to be caught before they can perpetrate. And if they
Absolutely.
do light anything, they should get the law must come down very hard on them. I am all for dogs, yaar. I'm telling you, just get the right dogs and release them, and just have a little fun. And can you take the policeman away from Sayadri as we end the show? All right. और इसी के साथ आज का समाचार समाप्त, which is our new way of saying bye.